What's up guys, Andrew here, and today we're going to try the new McLaren 720S Evo that was just dropped today by surprise. I don't know if it was supposed to be a surprise or maybe just to me, but here we have the McLaren, and we are in the Garage 59 livery. Looks pretty good. Obviously the McLaren doesn't really look any different than before, but obviously we're hoping for some better performance out of it. But here are some of the skins. Can I go through them? JP Motorsport looks pretty much the same. We've got Optimum Motorsport here, and then we've got the Sky Racing livery as well. But let's go into the lobby here, or into Brands Hatch, and let's get a feel for the car here. Now admittedly I have driven this a little bit before this video, but I kind of wanted to get my thoughts together on this and then drive and go over them again. But let's go to the default aggressive setup and take a look here. First thing to notice in the electronics department is that we have a TC2 on this car now, and one of the big things that I noticed about this car was that the rear end really likes to step out in the low end corners. So my guess is that TC2 is going to need some tweaking from where it's at on the default aggressive setup. Now that could just be a me thing, but personally I don't like TC2 where it's at. I'm going to put this down to a lower fuel level. Put this to brake 1 for right now. As you can see, most of the setup on here isn't much different. I'm gonna put the brake bias down a little bit here. 53, 54 is generally where I like the Maka. But clearly not that much difference to see here. But you are gonna notice an arrow that I think there are more wing options than last time. I think it used to be 8, and now it's 12. So there are a few more values here, but yeah, let's go into the car and give it a good spin here. I'm also going to raise this wing and make sure I'm kind of in that mid to low 8 in the variation. That's kind of what I liked in the Maka before. And we're going to give it a shot right here.
Green light. Give it all you can.
So first thing you guys will notice, car doesn't sound any different. There's really, audio-wise and looks-wise, this car really isn't changing all that much. The brakes feel a little more solid. After the 1.9 update, the brakes felt even worse on the McLaren. I mean, pretty much everything felt worse on the McLaren. But the one thing I can happily say about this car is that this feels a lot more like McLaren pre 1.9 update than the last version of the 720S does after the 1.9 update. So if you left a McLaren because you were disappointed after the update, you can hop back in this car and be happy with it. Now, another thing about this car, it's much better over the curves and bumps. It feels much more smooth. I know it's a glaring issue with this car, but it seems to be in a better spot. I'm not saying it's perfect still or better than other cars, but it is an improvement, so that is something to be happy about. Now, with the TC2 being added into this car and feeling that rear step out, maybe that's a sign that, it's going to have better better performance through the lower end corners. As you can see, I have a hard time getting through that turn there. Now, again, this isn't the most in-depth review here of this car. This is really just first impressions. but I like it. This was how I liked the McLaren, and it feels like it's back. So, Maka mains, please, I think you can rejoice on this one. Now, my tire pressure still probably need to get some change here. A little low. But when I was just kind of driving this car around, I managed to get into the 123, high 123s. And for me to be able to do that after kind of trying to get used to a car again, that's not the 296, which is, again, a very easy car to drive, that's a really good sign that this car is 100% competitive. I've not gotten into the 123s on this track in the new update outside of the Ferrari. So for me to get this car, 15 minutes of driving and get back into the 123s, that's pretty good. So if your biggest question is can I use this car and be competitive with it? Absolutely. And I'd honestly be pretty surprised that a new car wouldn't be a competitive option in ACC. So guys, I want to run through everything that I experienced on the track and just give my final thoughts on this. Now, this is just a first impressions video, so understand that there are still things that people are going to figure out with this car, and I wouldn't take everything with an absolute that I say, but the things that I noticed with this car, it feels very much like before the 1.9 update again. So if you were a Maka main and you turned sour after the 1.9 update, you can probably return back to this car. It does seem to be a little bit better over curbs and bumps, which was a glaring issue with this car before. So with improved suspension regarding those things, I think it's going to be a more viable option on tracks that maybe this car had more difficulties with in the past. Setup changes. There is a TC2 option, which I'm not quite comfortable yet. I keep finding ways to get the McLaren to the rear end to step out when I'm exiting slower corners. So that's something to work with. I was kind of messing around with it, and my best laps came with TC2 actually turned off to setting 0, but still trying to find that sweet spot in the traction control. But yeah, that's my only thing with the new car right now, with the new Evo here, is just keeping the rear end from stepping out. But setup wise, not a lot has changed outside of that. You can raise the rear wing a little bit more than you used to. I think it was 8 before. Now you can get it up to 12. But those were the two glaring differences in that. I think that you're going to get more low-end acceleration out of this car, given that you see TC2 in here. But if you're wondering if this car is competitive, it is absolutely competitive. For those who are able to tame this car and figure it out with the TC options and TC2 options, all that kind of stuff, this car may be even considered broken. I don't know. When you get back into LFM lobbies, all that kind of stuff, you're probably going to see this car join the mix of Lambos and Porsches and Ferraris, which will be refreshing, because just seeing those three cars all the time gets a little boring sometimes. But yeah, still trying to learn this car a little bit on the low end, but ultimately feels a lot like the McLaren that we're used to driving before the 1.9 update. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give this car a try yourself, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.